We're gonna be talking into the ether. That's what it's gonna sound like.
Well, it's kind of funny because I was listening to it, and it would be us talking, and then you said your name, and we're just sitting there, just all quietly.
It would be like one of those like Dora the Explorer episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can you see our guest?
And I'm on the screen. Okay,
Oh,
we're good
great!
again.
After those technical difficulties, welcome everybody to another episode of Tiny Rap. For that
Wait,
one
did you want me to
time,
start recording?
were you not?
No, I was. Keep going.
Welcome. I am your host, the head boy. With me, joining me is the Robert, the Bob, the Forrest.
I thought he forgot my name.
I thought you forgot my name.
No, pause for dramatic effect. And we are joined by a guest again today. If you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Again,
please.
Hey. Yes, again. My name is Ashley, and I volunteer for Anime Banzai, which is Utah's premier anime convention held every October.
Yeah, this year it's between the 15th through the 17th. So
Yes,
buy your tickets now because it's almost there.
Yeah, we're close.
yes, we're coming up very close, very fast.
It's a month away. I think one of the big things we'll probably go into and look at is like probably, I don't know what like the logistics of setting something up like this is, right? Because obviously, like, we've attended conventions and stuff like that. It's always interesting to see kind of like behind how all that works.
Because this one is the non-for-profit, right? Convention?
Yes,
Or
not
something
for
like
profit. None of us get paid. We all volunteer our time as well as have our real jobs and families and schooling and everything else that we do. And it is completely not only not for profit, but also non-profit, which is just a legal change, legal distinction there.
Interesting. I didn't know that because to me, all conventions are just kind of ran by people, and you know, I never thought about it being profit or non-profit. That's interesting.
No, it's amazing just how many of us there are, and then you have to remember that everybody, right up to like the board and everything like that, none of us get paid. We're all volunteering our time and talents.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people do you have, I guess, volunteering?
That number changes constantly, and it depends on what you consider to be a staff member. Our staff photo that we take every year has somewhere between 75 and 200 people.
Wow.
Okay.
I was like, 75 is about right. 200, that's a lot of volunteers.
So it really fluctuates.
Yeah. There's and it depends on who's working at the time we take the photo, because like security and because we take it at the convention on Thursday night before the real convention kicks off on Friday morning. And so like security and building and everybody else are still working to make everything ready for all the attendees.
That's super cool. Well, was there a little? I think I got a little bit of an echo in there.
That's fine.
That was mine. But yeah, but that's like I find it, well, that's extremely interesting, right? Because I mean, so what are like the so obviously because it's not like it's a nonprofit like organization doing this. It's like what are some of like the difficulties or like pitfalls in like organizing something like this, without whatever or expecting that financial backing and stuff like that.
So one of the biggest hardships that we find is because we're not paid to do this, we all, have jobs and lives and school and kids and everything. And so we have to work around that because obviously, I personally don't have children, but obviously children are more important than trying to figure out things that come with a convention. I just personally, that's what I imagine.
Are you saying kids are more important than anime?
Like I said, I don't have kids, so I don't know that for a fact. That's what I've heard, so I'm going to go with that.
Do you guys have like a contract with the Davis Conference Center? Or
Yes, we do.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know a whole lot about it. That's not my area of expertise within the con,
Mm-hmm.
but we do work closely with the DCC, the Davis Conference Center. We work closely with Davis County. Um, we work with a lot of the officials there up in Layton, to make this work, to deal with the hotels and the restaurants in the area and just all the business that we flood into the area for that weekend.
Makes sense. I mean, I always remembered, right, about that time, going like that weekend to like Layton or something, in the time living in Syracuse, and always just seeing like the throngs of people like in cosplay and stuff.
Bro, I worked at the Chick-fil-A up the street from the Davis Conference Center. So that weekend you're like, okay, we gotta,
Double our staff.
double staff. It was wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to say, my favorite part of it is seeing any of the new servicemen and women, because there's Hill Air Force Base right there.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see them in restaurants, and they'll just look at us like we're crazy. So they're new.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's always my favorite about going to conventions, because we've been to so many, and there's always like a restaurant down the street, and it's like some new poor person moved in, and they're like, "What's wrong with these people?" You're like, "It's Comic-Con." They're like, "Oh, okay, I understand now." You're like, "Yeah."
It's always the wonders in a place.
Yes.
It's always the wonders in a place that's not like used to it. Like even when like just standard Comic-Con started, right? Or now with like Bonsai getting probably bigger. I would assume getting bigger with each year that passes. Maybe excluding this one, but I mean, I always found it's like super interesting to see people's reactions to them not being used to that kind of like subculture and stuff like that, other than maybe cursory glances from the outside, compared to probably bigger cities that are used to holding really big conventions and stuff like that. So used to, everyone knows at some point in the year, you're going to see a bunch of people, dressed up as crazy characters from films and things, just going to the whatever conference center is there. It's just cool. It's just cool. And it's cool to see that, like, that subculture grow, like, in this state, personally. This is something I appreciate. But yeah, it's super crazy. So I'm guessing with like the big staff, everyone is kind of like relegated to certain like positions, right, and stuff. So in your case, what would be the things that you're in charge of doing for the convention?
Yes, we do. We do put people in charge of different areas, although we work very closely together because, of course, you can't just put somebody in charge of one thing and then never hear from them until the convention happens.
That sounds
That
like
would
work.
My personal position, the title is Director of Programming. I'm kind of an umbrella head over all the things that happen at the convention, so all the panels and events and the main events that happen on the big stage and stuff like that. But more specifically, I run the panels department. So I'm the one who finds the panelists and approves the panels and makes sure that everybody has their slides or their information or whatever it is they're handing out to the panel, to the attendees in their panel, things like that.
Okay. Like the kind of in charge of, well, kind of like the technical aspect, just making sure it goes over as smoothly as possible, right?
I try, yes. This is actually my first year doing so.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll see how successful I am.
Okay, sweet.
But that's my job, supposedly.
Okay. So this is your first year doing that. You volunteered previous years, I would assume as well, right? And those previous years, what were you kind of over?
Before this, I was the volunteers director.
Okay.
So kind of the same job, just a different area where I would find volunteers, create their schedules, try to make sure that the areas that needed just a general volunteer rather than a specific, what we call staff members, to help out, to, guard the doors and only let so many people into the vendors hall at one time so that it's not breaking fire code, for example.
Oh, yeah. When did you start volunteering and stuff?
So let's see. The first year I went to Anime Banzai as an attendee was 2010.
Okay.
So probably 2013, I want to say, was when I started volunteering.
Oh wow.
And I went in to volunteer. I just wanted to be a volunteer. And they really liked my personality and my organization skills. So they're like, hey, do you want to get started with the volunteer department?
Okay.
So they threw me on the volunteer coordination line.
That's really cool, though.
It sounds like it's like I'm starting to do, basic stuff, and now you're ahead of something. You're like, okay.
It's kind of the way that Bonsai works. I mean, we're such a family. We kind of grab on to people, and we're like, you're one of us now.
One of us.
Like, you can't leave now. You got something to do? I'm sorry. Remember, anime is more important than children.
You heard it here first.
Oh, good Lord.
Can't wait for a quote for that.
How long has Anime Banzai been going?
That's a good question.
So their first year, oh my gosh, 2020 messed up my math, and I'm already bad at math.
We don't count that year.
16th year, I want to say.
16?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It might be 17. I'm bad at math. I'm so sorry for all of my Anime Banzai people.
Oh man.
It's like I moved here 2007, but I think I didn't know about it until I don't know 2011 maybe, where just kind of you see random people cosplaying at the Layton Hills Mall. I'm like, who are these people? What are they doing?
I think that's how I found out too. Like, because I used to shop at the Michaels on that street corner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Where
next
everyone
to-
parks, and I was confused. I'm like, why is everyone wearing anime stuff? And I watched them go down. I'm like, oh, let me Google what's happening in Utah. I'm like, oh, I guess I better go to this.
So that's crazy. So you started helping in 2013. So that's probably a few years into it, like halfway through. It's probably life.
Yeah, it's for me. Yes, because like I said, I don't have children. I am married, so maybe I have a child. Kind of. I do have two cats. That rule my life. So
They're
there's
basically children.
those two things.
Basically.
How much has it grown?
Let's see. I used to have two cats before these that I actually brought to Bonsai with me.
Oh, nice.
Not into the convention center. They don't allow animals that aren't service animals, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
But into the hotel, and I would walk them in on leashes. And
That's
the
awesome.
hotel would just love that. And all the attendees that were checking in at the same time are just like, oh my gosh, cats on a leash.
Did you cosplay them? Like put little kimonos on the cats or something?
I'm pretty sure they would have killed me and not have been in my sleep if I had tried.
It's okay. That's what cats do. They try to kill you anyway. It's just one step closer to the.
You just
the
offend them
demise.
once and then you're dead to them.
I could always draw with like a yellow Sharpie or something, little moons on their foreheads, and then I could cosplay Sailor Moon.
There
There
you
The
go.
you
theme
you
this
go.
year is magical girls and boys.
The cats would love that more than
Oh,
the kimono.
I recently got two cats, but now on Instagram I get ads for like cosplays for animals.
Oh no!
For some reason. I don't know how that got there, but
gotta-
I'm like, that's a good idea.
It's because they know.
They know.
It's like when you told me that you get Krispy Kreme ads. I'm like, I never get those.
Now you
All
do.
I get is Krispy Kreme ads.
Yeah,
now.
they
They
know,
heard.
dude.
Over, I think Forrest asked, but over your time there, it's like how big is how has the convention grown over the past like 8 years?
Okay, so their first year they were expecting maybe 100 people, 200 people, because it was such a niche thing back when it very first started at Salt Lake Community College.
Okay.
Wow.
And there were 900 attendees that showed up.
Oh wow.
That's pretty good.
That sounds like a first convention. You just don't expect,
Yeah.
no one
The
watches
very
anime.
first year when they had absolutely no money and very little clue. It was created by a couple of people coming back from a convention in California, and they're like, you know what? I think we can do this.
I do remember
And that's how
didn't they
Bonsai
do like
started.
a it's like a little gathering at what's it, Liberty Park, where the aviary thing is at.
Uh-huh.
And they would sell like just anime merch. I remember walking by a long time ago. I'm like, hey.
It always starts with just this innocent little thought and then turns into, I think we were at 4,500 in 2019.
Wow.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah,
cool.
we spent 2 years at Salt Lake Community College before we outgrew them. And they told us that we couldn't. I think fire code was involved. There were just too
Oh.
many people.
So I feel like 900 people is a lot for fire code in general.
Yeah. They moved to the Sheraton downtown,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
and I'm trying to remember how many years they spent there. My husband actually went to Anime Banzai in 2009. That was their last year at the Sheraton Hotel.
Okay.
I couldn't go. I was looking for apartments. I was being the adult. We were trying to move, so
Well,
I had to go
one of you
adult.
has
I
to.
couldn't go to the fun anime thing.
But now you're there every year.
But now I'm there every year.
Hey, at least, if you get too big again and, stuff goes wrong, you just get a ball pit. I heard that works out really well. What was that one?
What?
The ball pit one? The ball pit con?
Oh, I don't remember. That wasn't BlizzCon, was it? No.
No. It was like a small con that they're like, we don't expect anyone to be here. And then a lot of people came and they had nothing and they ran out of money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was just a bad con in general. I forgot the name of it.
It's always rough. I think it's always I think it's probably always a habit to short sell it, right? You're like, oh, there's this niche thing that you figure is like, I mean, because no one ever. I mean, nowadays it's probably a little more common, but especially when you go further back, I mean, it's very rare to see people be very outspoken about like the niche things that they're into. So you never really fully expect, like the turnout, and then when something like that happens, you're like, oh. Hey, this is a lot more common or popular than I originally thought it would be.
I think especially in Utah, there just wasn't anything like it. So they're like, okay, this will be the first ones, and it'll be interesting, and we'll have the little anime clubs. The End of the World Club at Salt Lake Community College is the main starters of Bonsai, and they're like, yeah, we'll just have this niche little group of people. 900 people showed up.
That's a small niche of people, right? 900.
Every year we've grown and grown, and then yes, like you said, this year will be smaller because of 2020 ruined everything, but
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't ruined Bonsai. We're still going. We're still planning. We've got pre-registrations, so
You guys have any restrictions or stuff because of the pandemic?
Yeah, like how has
Yes.
COVID changed everything?
Yeah, it's definitely going to change everything, and I won't know everything until after the con ends, how it's going to change, because you have to see it unfold as it does. But our rules per DCC and Davis County, we're following CDC recommendations. So everybody 2 and older has to wear a mask at all times.
Okay.
We'll have hand sanitization stations up all over the place. I mean, we usually have little Germex pumps all over the place because you pack that many people into a small area, and
Yep.
The con
it's just
flu.
crazy.
I've gotten a few of those through my time of being through how many cons?
It's actually one of our more popular panels is how to survive the con plague.
Oh, is
So, but we're gonna have we're actually closing down all the rooms at different times to do cleanings.
Okay.
I know that in my rooms, my panels rooms, we're closing down every 4 to 5 hours to Clorox wipe and Clorox spray, Lysol spray, and all kinds of things. We aren't allowing our panelists to pass things around.
Oh. Okay.
Without specific things. I know one of my panelists has props that they want to show. And so they have to be handled with gloves, and they'll be wiped down with Clorox wipes between each person that wants to handle the prop. Those are the kind of things that we're doing. I know the video gaming room will be closing for a deep clean. Just all kinds of, the artist alley is putting barriers between each of the artists.
Oh, okay.
all kinds of. I mean, we're just doing what we can, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely with this time period that we're kind of living in, I feel like it's probably just really almost impossible to do any of this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many restrictions, and I couldn't even think about how much it's probably going to cost to do all the cleaning constantly like that too. And
Yeah,
manpower.
there's definitely a monetary cost to it, but I mean, you can't put a price on attendees. We love our attendees. We want to keep them safe. We want to keep our staff safe, but we still want to have fun and have our family back. We've been off for a year. I mean, everybody took 2020 off. It was, yeah, just 2020.
It's a year that we just skipped basically on the calendar.
Yeah, I remember on the Facebook group how all the people were like super sad that it got canceled and everything.
Oh yeah, no, it was hard for us too. We were just like, we had a serious conversation with Davis County and DCC. They worked with us as far as because you have to pay a lot of things up front, monetary wise,
Oh, okay.
and so they worked with us on rolling over our money for 2021. It was, I mean, there was just so much that went into trying to figure out 2020 and 2021 on that end.
Wow.
I feel like definitely this year has been a loss for tons of conventions and tournaments and all that stuff. Because I think Anime Expo, they had to refund all the tickets because they went to a different
Venue?
no seller, who sells
Gotcha.
the tickets.
Uh-huh.
And then I can't remember if New York, if they refunded or pushed everything back. I know FanX just pushed the tickets back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's just like, I couldn't imagine trying to deal with, like, imagine Anime Expo or New York where you have hundreds of thousands of people going. Imagine dealing with every person, like the paperwork that'd have to be to refund everything.
Yikes.
Well, and not only that, but the shifting rules of, well, okay, everything's fine. No, everything's not fine. Well, we might have to cancel. No, everybody has to wear a mask. No, we're requiring vaccines. Well, we don't require this. Like, oh, just the back and forth of you don't know what's going on at any given time.
Yeah, because I just bought tickets to fly to New York for their Comic-Con, which is, I'm pretty sure, a week before yours, basically.
Yeah, I think it was a week before.
And I know their restrictions right now. It's like everyone has to wear a mask, and I think everyone has to show vaccination, like that.
Proof of vaccination.
Proof of vaccination. And you're just like, that's a lot of people, and I don't know how you're going to do that. You're going to carry your card in with, like, your badge?
I guess you're just going to have to. I mean, it's just the weird thing of having to deal with something like this. I can understand where it can be like a logistical nightmare. But at the same time, I mean, it is kind of nice and reassuring knowing that it's possible to have these events again. Because, I mean, it after a year of not having them, you're like, sometimes you're like, you know what, I miss it, right?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
you're saying is I got too much money in my pockets, and I can't buy my waifu figures. Yes, I understand that.
I don't know. There's some, because I feel like there's something about the energy of a convention that's kind of just really nice. That is like you don't really get in a lot of other like scenarios, right? Being just in a place with a bunch of people with like a like-minded interest is always nice, right? It's like the same energy like when you go to like a concert or you go to a sporting event, right? Where you're just with people that are into that same thing. And it just brings a certain energy to it, depending what it is. And I mean, it's over the last year. It's one of those things you kind of come to like miss having, especially with it just not being there. It, almost like taking it for granted to a certain degree.
Yeah, because it's definitely felt like that. Definitely, what was the first one we canceled? Was it AX probably? Because that's September, right?
No, that's July.
July. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's July.
even earlier then. So yeah, I guess that was the first thing we had to cancel, and it was definitely like, we'll miss that, but we'll have Fan X and Bonsai and.
Well, we canceled Japan. We canceled Japan.
Well, we canceled Japan first. That was the big cancel. Yeah. Yeah.
Fun times.
Some would say it's just
I
been.
do know that
bad
one
year.
of the biggest things that people talk about with Bonsai is because we're smaller than FanX or definitely LA or New York or anything like that. And I've mentioned it before is that we're a family, that there's just such a personal feeling when it comes to Bonsai, that the attendees and the staff just love that we see the same people every year, and then we see new people and we get to meet all these new people, and it just really is something that the bigger cons can't provide because they're just so big.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bonsai, as a smaller con, has that ability to bring us all together closer.
It's very reassuring that the staff and people that plan it care about the attendees and their safety.
Yeah. Not like bigger cons where it's probably harder to manage thousands of people.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see this year how many attendees we have in general. Like, if there's gonna be a lot, or if everyone's still scared to even come out.
Or it might be
See it
bigger,
either
who
way,
knows?
that's for sure. I know I have my own things in my personal life where I mean, I go grocery shopping and things, but I'm not necessarily going out to, sports events or anything like that personally. So it's just, I like that the safety measures that we're taking at Bonsai.
Yeah, feels really reassuring, definitely.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's super cool, and I mean, it's so nice that like Forrest said, there's people that care and everything. So, which speaking of which, right? Because obviously, the whole point of Anime Banzai is to come together over the wonderful medium that is anime. And
manga.
And manga, obviously, right? This is just everything in that
All nerd culture.
in that nerd culture area, right? And so I would assume that the majority of the people that volunteer and stuff like that have an interest in the subject, or it's something that's very dear to them, right? So I mean, this is not making any assumptions, but in your case, like, what do you think what brought you into like this? What's been your experience with like anime and everything in that kind of area?
So me personally, I got into anime very late. Probably not until high school, so early 2000, 2001, 2002 kind of time. It was something that my cousin was staying with us for a couple of weeks, and he was really, really into anime. He was a big gamer, really into anime, the whole thing. And he introduced me to Inuyasha and
As you
Scrapped
do,
Princess and Trigun.
Oh,
Like those were and Miyazaki, the Miyazaki movies, absolutely.
I feel like that's a lot of people, at least like a lot of the late stars like I was. It was like definitely Miyazaki was one of the first, and then I just stumbled across it through high school.
It's the perfect gateway drug.
It really is. Everything except Miyazaki is socially acceptable. I mean, you look more into it, it's this deep underground pit.
Yep.
Awesomeness.
I feel like that's how I got some of my family into it. It was like, we don't like Miyazaki. Like, oh, I like this. And then it's like, you'll like this show. Don't tell your parents you're watching it. They won't like it.
You slowly lead them down the rabbit hole.
It's like, here's a carrot. Come on, buddy.
It's like, ooh, piece of candy, and then another show.
Yeah.
Ooh, another piece of candy.
And then you come with the suitcase and smack them across the head with the next dark show. You're like, no one expects that one.
And then all of a sudden you're watching Doki Doki and all kinds of terrible, terrible things.
That game is depressing.
No, I tend to stick with the older anime. I didn't watch a lot. I'm not what you would call your typical anime fan. I don't watch a lot of anime. And when I do, I tend to watch the older stuff. I'm into Full Metal Alchemist, and I still haven't finished Inuyasha. I don't know if I ever will.
Like 100 some odd episodes.
I
on
haven't
that?
either. I know Toonami got to a certain point, and then they never passed it. And
Right.
I think just a couple years ago they released that last season in English or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'll watch it eventually. And it's been 2 years.
There's been 2 years and there's a sequel now.
Yeah, but now they have a kid.
Well, it's just like Dave.
And that's the other thing is I fairly equally watch dubs and subs, which is a giant battle in the anime community sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Whether you're a purist and only watch dub, the subtitles, I mean, not the dub, because that's the English version.
That could be a whole episode
they're-
on its own.
It just, I don't know. Sometimes just the English version speaks to me, and sometimes I want the Japanese version, so I just kind of pick one and go with it.
I do agree that there is some good dubs out there. Like, some of the older stuff is pretty good. It does get repetitive on who the voice actors are.
Of course.
Because, at the time there was, 7? now there's a lot more, and I think the dubs are getting better. Like, I'll personally, if it's on Netflix, I'll say, 50% of the time I'll watch it dubbed because I kind of just want to watch the show.
Yeah.
Or if I'm busy and I want to do something, but...
And you want to 1.5 speed it?
Yeah.
No, that's if I don't want to watch the show anymore. Speed run it. But
Just gotta learn
The
Japanese,
very
Forrest.
early-
I can't even learn English.
Sorry. Sorry, continue.
Also, the problem with the early anime dubs were the subtitles were done by fans, so they were
Yeah.
absolutely terrible.
Uh-huh.
So to get any real story behind it, you had to watch the English version, which of course came out much later than the Japanese version at the time.
Yep.
Some would say Crunchyroll's subtitles are fan-made.
I'd agree with some of that. Well, I feel like, because that's how I kind of got on the subtitles, though, was I was watching a dub of a show, and then the show ended, and I'm like, I can't wait to watch the next season, As a kid, you go looking on the internet trying to find this, and you're like, I found it, thank goodness. What's this thing that says sub? I click on it, I'm like, I don't understand what they're saying. I'm like, I gotta read? Okay, I like the show, I'll read.
I think for me it's more like I think what introduced me more into subs is like bootlegging it, because I mean as a kid growing up I was introduced to anime and different things, and there'd be like shows I'd be like, well, I never finished this show, right, and I'm gonna watch it the way I started it, which is how I used to see it, like Saturday morning, which is the English dub. And I'd go and I'd be watching the show, and then you try to look for an episode and the dub doesn't exist but the sub does.
Yep.
You're like, well, sure, why not?
I remember the early YouTube days.
The only way to get you fixed, man.
Yep.
I would search it on YouTube, or let's say Naruto Shippuden episode whatever, and then you just are like, oh, subtitle, yeah, it's fine.
And then after that, you just fall down the rabbit hole once you get used to it. And you I mean, it's like teach their own. It depends on what you like. I think you want out of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like once you go in and you start seeing like the sub and like just like the care voice actors going, which a lot you can see a lot of that now in the English side of things as well. But it's just crazy because then everything opens up to you. It's just like it's all there. Well, most of it's there.
Well, I feel like that's also the issue with dub is we're going to go too far into this, but it's just limiting what you're watching.
Of
Because there's
course.
so much out there, but the problem is normally if it's dubbed, it's good. If it's just subbed, it's probably not that good.
I don't know. You've seen Ghost Stories.
Yeah, it's good. Good dub. But normally to me, that's kind of like, at least with the newer stuff, that's kind of what my... Like, if I'm going to watch in English, I hope the show is at least good enough that the voice acting doesn't have to push it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Imagine being Japanese and you don't know about the English dub of Ghost Stories.
Imagine having to read the subtitles to English dub of Ghost Stories.
If you weren't aware, I mean, so Ghost Stories is it's an older anime. It's a little infamous in the sense that in Japan it did very poorly in sales on Blu-rays and stuff. And so when it was ported over to be dubbed, they kind of gave the voice actors free reign and were just like, do whatever you want with this, just basically make us money. So they went all out. and it's interesting.
It's fantastic. It's like what are those called?
It's like a parody. It's like a fan dub.
It's yeah.
It's a fan.
That's basically what it is.
It's like a bridge version.
Yeah.
That's what I think you're going.
An abridged version, but full version.
So it has all the crazy, like, strange comedic raunchiness that you would think of something like that, but it is technically the official dub.
So bad. So good, though.
I would recommend.
It's an older anime. It's just up your alley.
I will add it to my list, and I do have a list.
I'm sure it's on what verb?
I think it was on Verve, yeah.
Something like that.
Is Crunchyroll.
It was on Crunchyroll, right? Yeah.
Verve and Crunchyroll are the same.
Funimation. I mean, they're all one now.
They're all the same thing. Some would say it's a monopoly. But well, since you're like, talking about older anime, what do you have your favorite anime?
It depends on how I'm feeling. I mean, I recently just finished Akame ga Kill, so I'm like loving that. But I always go back to Inuyasha. That was like my first real anime, and so it's just one of those. I love Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first 2.5 seasons of Yu Yu Hakusho.
I never finished it, but it's really good.
I agree with that.
It just, for most of my anime, actually, I kind of watch secondhand, really. My husband watches anime, a lot of it, and this year, in case you've been living under a rock, is very isekai. Isekai? Something?
Isekai, yep.
Is very, very heavy in the reborn into another world, and so he watches all the different, there's probably like 7 of them that he's watching.
That's what
and so I know bits and pieces about all these different anime that are really interesting, but I don't particularly watch them all the way through myself.
I know the feeling on some of those.
There's so many isekais. Good lord! Like Bob was saying, I mean, our name is technically a spoof of one of those, just because it's just such a. It's just crazy to me how big it is. Like it is, because that genre like has completely dominated the light novel medium, which is where all these shows are coming from, and it's just
exactly.
And it's crazy to me because if you go back, if you look at some older light novels, I mean, you see a lot more supernatural kind of like, because you get stuff like the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumi. You get the Monogatari series. You get like what was the there's another one I was thinking of. It completely slipped past my mind. I can't remember. It has a weird name. They recently did an anime for it. Don't worry about it. It might come to me later. But like you saw a lot more of that kind of thing, but now recently, like after a certain point, it's just all been that. And I mean, obviously, because there's such a wide variety and because it's such a big genre, it makes sense that you would adapt all of that as well. So it's just huge. It's just big.
I'm really excited to see more of the light novels come out as anime. I don't read light novels, although if I was, I can't handle manga. The way that my brain is structured, I just cannot read it. First of all, I would have to read it as a purist from back to front. And from right to left instead of the American way, and my brain can't handle it. So I can't read manga. But light novels, I know, totally different beast.
Yep.
Basically,
is something that I've toyed around with getting interested in, and again, my husband, he has been totally into Spice and Wolf and Reincarnated as a Slime and all these light novels that he's like, okay, I've seen the anime up to where it is, but I need to read. I need to know more.
That was that's where my rabbit hole has gone. Now I mean my light novel library is expansive.
He spends about 10,000 a week. It's crazy.
It's quite expansive, but that's how it started. It's like you watch a show, and I mean most of the time, because a lot of cases shows are adapted and they're only like they're basically promotional material for their for the source, and it hits a certain point, and you're like, well, I don't know if it's going to get a season 2. I don't know if it's going to keep going.
Hey, Bob, we want to make a bet that I say only 10% of the manga or light novels he reads was an anime adaptation.
I say like 25%.
I think 25%?
25%, yeah.
This guy's just lying to us right now.
Well, I mean, that's how it started, right? Because that's how I started it was that way. It's evolved since then.
Then we talked about like, I read like 5 novels this week.
It's evolved quite a bit.
See, my issue is like the opposite of her brain, where I read so much manga comparatively that if I open like a comic book, or if you go on Reddit, there's always like little comics or something.
Yeah.
Always start on the right side. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, I gotta read it from this one.
Dude, every time I pick up a book, I start from the back, forward when I'm trying just like to see what it is. I'm like, why am I opening it like this?
Yeah.
This is a cookbook.
It's a major issue in my mind. It's like my brain don't work the way it should.
It's different. Just gotta get used to it.
You build different.
At this point, I just don't read comics anymore, so I just read backwards.
Oh, there you go. I read subtitles.
Wait until they do the subtitles back.
Oh no.
Or vertical.
They're gonna put it on top.
Oof.
Oh,
Start
it's
reading
crazy.
subtitles up and down the way that they write in Japanese and,
Uh-huh.
and right and left instead.
I already struggle when there's like subtitles on the top and at the bottom. Like I don't know what to read first.
When like different people are talking at the same time, so they have
Yeah.
like the different.
I never
gotta
understood
pause.
why they put subtitles. If there's like a TV in the background that's talking literally about nothing important, there's like 2 subtitle blocks, and sometimes they flip. So you're reading, you're like, this is the important one. Wait, why are they talking about food? Like, oh, shit.
I like in the fandoms though, where they give you a little note or like, oh, this word means this in this context. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Oh yeah, those are always great.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's
Now you suddenly know Japanese words and you feel amazing because you can learn Japanese.
Oh, it's like when the subtitles are behind from what they're saying and you understand it. I'm like, yes.
Or they say a word and the subtitle is not that word, and you're like,
The subtitle is wrong. Upsetting. I'm paying for a wrong subtitle.
And I mean, for some things it's understandable, right? Because there's some phrases in Japanese that don't necessarily have a literal translation. But there's so many times you're just like, I don't know, man. That seems like a little bit of a stretch to me.
we've had issues with that because, what is it? Is it Weathering with You? That has the wordplay in it?
No, it's the soda pop one.
The Soda Pop one was pure wordplay.
Uh-huh.
But there's another one that they had a whole scene where it was wordplay, but the subtitles were like a big block of words because it was like explaining as it was going what the wordplay
Was
meant.
it on Amazon Prime?
No, it was like in theaters. I can't remember
Yikes.
what movie it was. All I know is they were on the roof and they were talking, and there's like
It's rough.
Subtitles
I
should
mean, as a
explain
fan of the Monogatari series, it becomes a little rough when you realize that, you can't adequately translate the wit that goes into a lot of its dialogue because it is Japanese wordplay. And they try. You get the base, like you could hear it, right? Because your brain understands like sonically what's going on, right? Like in the language, and then you read the subtitle, you're like, I don't know, but you tried. So I have a good idea of what this is.
God.
But it's just interesting to see all that stuff. Good lordy.
But is there like genres you watch just besides old stuff? Is there like any shows that you've gotten into that are like newer or just stuff that you don't normally watch?
Or is there like a show you watch with your husband? Like, oh, this is our anime show that we watch every week or whatever.
We watch My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero Academia, every week. Usually on Saturdays, but sometimes on Sundays when Saturdays are just too busy. That's probably the one new and like the one show that I watch with my husband for sure every week. Occasionally we'll pick up an old anime together, and because Anime Banzai does a theme every year, and so we'll try to cosplay toward that theme. And one year we did Rurouni Kenshin, and he hadn't seen Rurouni Kenshin, and it had probably been about 10 years since I had seen it. So we found it, the official Rurouni Kenshin, and bought it, and then sat down and watched it together. We did the same with Yu Yu Hakusho. Although we weren't cosplaying that one, it was just one that I had picked up. I found it at FYE. And I was like, oh,
That's
Yu Yu Hakusho, yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, well, sit down, because you're prepared for this.
Nice.
I feel like that's the best part of having like other people in the anime. It's like, you haven't seen this. Oh, you also haven't seen this. Goodbye time.
And this list just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I feel like
Oh, always the never-ending list.
well, that's always been the issue for us too, because we try to watch a lot of the shows. There's a lot of shows we don't watch every season, but we just kind of want to be, still talking about them. And it's like, Oh, how many shows came out this season? Probably not a lot, right? 30, 35? Oh, cool. That's
How many single episodes can I fit in a week?
I just binged this whole show at the last day. I think I couldn't talk about it. But yeah,
I occasionally watch what I consider to be random anime, either as a suggestion. My friend in high school suggested Excel Saga.
Okay.
If you want your brain to melt because there is no plot, there is nothing cohesive about this show. It's clearly short.
perfect show.
Each episode is themed, so you have like one that's centered around pets, and one that's centered around the beach, and one that's magical girl. Like that's the only coherency that it has, is that each episode has a different theme.
Oh, it's like there's this show this season, and it's about a guy that works in like he does TV shows for children. But this guy is obviously very depressed. But he tries to do his he's like a very good attitude, but his like inner monologue of what he goes through is really funny and relatable. Weirdly enough.
It's like one of those weird, depressing shows that you're like, "Ah, I feel bad for this guy. I feel bad for myself."
We were trying to do at one point put some anime reviews on the website several years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching really weird anime for me, and I got into the Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Yes.
That is a fantastic anime, and
Yes,
you're not
it is.
expecting it, but it is awesome.
I think that's probably like I don't know if it was in my top 10 when we did it like 4
Yeah,
or
I think
5
it
years
was.
ago. But oh man, that show just turns like right at the beginning. You're like, oh, this person's horrible. This person's now even more horrible once they go into the other realm. You're like, wow.
And then he's reincarnated as a loli.
Uh-huh.
Like, okay.
Pissed off Lily.
They're such good books too, because that one does come from a light novel series.
Everything comes from one
That
another.
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're very good. But that show's great. That to me, that's I figure because the problem with isekai is it's very like homogenous to a certain degree. Most of them have very similar worlds and rules and stuff, and they start to blend together. I mean,
what did I say? They just have one different caveat each book, and you're like,
that's the change. But every so often, you do get something like Saga of Tanya the Evil and stuff like that. It's just a very refreshing take on the genre, which I kind of wish would happen more often. But it's so good. I love it. It's such a good show.
I mean, you read the short little blurbs about these anime, and you're like, that's totally not my anime. And I wanted to reach out into the non-popular, to the weird. I watched one about a bicycle club in the high school.
Probably
and
Yowamushi Pedal, I'm guessing.
I'm sorry?
Is it Yowamushi Pedal?
I think it's.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I know that's the.
That's
bigger
another bike.
one,
Yeah, it's a big bike one, but.
Yeah, it really didn't focus on the bike club at all. It was like they just wanted to hang out as friends, but they had to have
Sounds
a
wholesome.
club and a sponsor. So they're like, we can ride bikes. This is a thing, right?
Isn't like the one show you watch about what it was like a moped or something
Yeah,
like
the
that?
moped. Yeah, but that's all the show was about. It was a 12-episode commercial about mopeds. You're like, so wholesome.
Good old slice of lives.
You read these tiny little blurbs, and you're like, yeah, this doesn't sound interesting to me. But like I said, at the time, we were trying to do some anime reviews, and I wanted to pick some of the more obscure anime that wasn't the most popular, that everybody was watching. And that's how I got into Tanya, and just down the rabbit hole I went. Absolutely.
Can't wait for the next season, because they announced season 3, right?
Is it season 3 already?
Season 2.
Season 2.
The 2? Okay, that's like show, movie, and then it'll be 2? Yeah, I can't remember. It all blurs together.
It's been a long time.
It's almost been 9 years since that's come out.
My God.
Hope not.
And we still
Has
won't
it
get
been that long?
No, I don't think so.
It's been what, 2014?
That's what I was thinking. The year.
Almost 8 years, I guess.
2020 ruined my entire timeline of everything. Now I'm off by like a whole year. So
2020 ruined my anime watch because I think I was just watching simulcast at the time, and because of COVID, they stopped simulcasting weekly, and I just kind of, you miss a few weeks, and then you just jump off the wagon, and didn't start watching again until earlier this year. I'm like, oh hey, look at all the shows I didn't watch.
All this stuff. And then everything that was delayed last year, like, just decided to come out. Just boom, boom, all.
It was 2017.
2017, okay.
Oh, it hasn't been
It's been half that.
Half a Ava movie.
I'm expecting 2017.
We still won't get the no life.
The No Game No Life?
No Game No Life.
Yeah, that's never coming out.
After Spice and Wolf season 3 comes out.
You're right.
yeah. Definitely.
What's gonna come out before that would probably be Parchment and Wolf, the
sequel.
I want to read it, but I don't read, so there's a manga version of it now.
Oh, is there?
So I might end up just reading that.
I was thinking of starting those light novels as well.
You should.
There's not that many of them.
Yeah,
The sequel.
it's too much money for you.
What do you mean?
Crazy man.
You don't get Barnes & Noble discounts by now?
He buys
I
it
do.
online now.
Oh,
You're a
those ones.
smart person, hopefully. It only saves them probably like $5 a book, and he probably gets a free book every
50.
every $100. Am I wrong?
No, not necessarily.
Knew it. You know how the point systems work in Japan. But it's crazy how just how to see how anime's changed too throughout the years. Because I feel like there's if you go through the older stuff, there's so much more better older stuff than there is what's coming out. Even now, this season's just I just feel like I don't know if it's the old seasons where it's just less anime, or they just kind of narrowed down and just make good stuff constantly.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's just a difference in what people enjoy. Because, shonens haven't changed a ridiculous amount, if we're going to be completely honest.
Just same formula.
Yeah.
Different characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like, especially when you're looking at that, it's like I look at something, we'll say back there, we'll take, actually, technically, I almost feel like there's shonens that have become slightly better than how they used to be. There's less filler and stuff like that, except for, the shows that have been going forever.
One Piece, I'm talking to you.
Do you watch One Piece?
My husband does.
Oh my god.
Is he
One
caught up?
Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's so many hours. That
That was actually our first cosplay was Bleach.
okay.
Nice.
I have a random tangent question. It just came in my mind because you said Bonsai has a different theme each year, right?
Yeah.
What's this year's
Yeah.
theme?
Magical
That's
girls
cool.
and boys.
All right, that's what it was.
So this year we're all gonna, when we go, we're gonna dress up as Madoka, right? All three of us.
Sure.
I want to be the blue one.
Damn.
Nah, dude, it's all about Cardcaptor Sakura.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Cardcaptor Sakura isn't depressing.
You ever watched I think it's called Princess Tutu?
I haven't watched it, but I know about it.
Have you?
I haven't. I know
Rules
about
to avoid it.
it.
It was Madoka before Madoka, so
Jesus.
I remember because I think I found that show because after watching Madoka too, I was like, oh yeah, there's an older one that is pretty similar. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. Yes, it was a rough ride.
I always saw the picture. I'm like, this just looks weird. I don't know if I'd ever watch it. I read about it. I'm like, I already watched a show like this. I'm good.
It looks wholesome.
Sure, so did Madoka.
Nah, you're right.
Madoka was wholesome until what?
Madoka
2?
has a good opening. Episode 3.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
was
where
saying.
everything changes. Oh.
You're like, this is not the show I was thinking.
I feel like that's where the rule of you have to watch until episode 3 on anime became the thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember ever hearing that before. It's like, oh, this show sucks at episode 1. I'm not going to watch it. Now it's like, hey, you got to get to 3 because, it gets better. Or if it stays garbage, you just drop it.
Or it's Steins Gate and you have to get to 6.
Or Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer is a bad one. But,
I think that it's the 3 episodes. I watch a lot of normal TV, and the 3 episode rule fits there too because the first episode is always like the most intense or the most gruesome, so that they can see what they can get away with on TV. and then it starts to level out. So I kind of apply that to anime, where it's like, okay, we're just gonna try to, we're gonna do this awesome thing where these three heroes leave. They're nowhere on the edge of the village, out in the boonies, and they come to the big city, and two of them get eaten and torn apart.
Yep.
Surprise.
Like, what? That's not how this is supposed to go. These three characters are the best of friends, and they're supposed to make it to this horrifying. Two of them are ripped apart by opposite sides of the war, and all. Nope, they get ripped apart in the first episode.
I feel like it's easier to do in anime because, you know, they're like 20-minute episodes. And then on TV, you're like, yeah, 3 hours later. Like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
Yeah. I was just thinking about when she said, like, in the first episode, they just kill everything. Did you guys ever watch Ga Ray Zero? It's not Ray Zero.
No, it's another weird one.
Garbage Zero, you
No,
said?
Ga Ray Zero.
No, I know. You mentioned
I
this,
think
but
I watched that one perpendicularly. Like, somebody else was watching it, so I just kind of caught most of it.
Because I think it's the first, like, 10 minutes of the show, you're following this one team that are, like, fighting demons. They just get massacred.
Well,
and you're like, what happened?
I mean, you know, in anime, I think, you know, the colloquial term is the normie filter, right? You take something like Goblin Slayer, for instance, like the beginning of that.
That normie filter.
I mean, I mean, because it's because that one thing, right? Because it's just this shock value right at the beginning,
Something
right?
outrageous.
Because the thing with like Goblin Slayer, you know, the first episode is so infamous for what it is, and then it plateaus out afterwards.
Oh yeah,
where
a lot.
where it's never the same. You take something like Elfen Lied, for instance, same thing. The first 10 minutes, you're like, what is this show?
I shouldn't be watching this.
I'm 12. This is perfect.
And then I think it levels out quite a bit more. I mean, it's still like strange, but it's nowhere near just like,
That's
whoa.
when your parents walk in.
Always. That does remind me. So one of my first shows that I watched was XXX Holic.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. We went on vacation, and I'm like, it was at the time where I was watching anime on TV. So I was recording it, and they're like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "It's just anime. Don't worry about it." They click on it. They're like, "You sure?" It's just anime. It wasn't anything bad either. So it just the name was just horrible. I'm just like, man, I can't say this is one of my favorite shows. It sounds like I like porn.
You want your kid's search history, XXXholic.
.com. Don't look that up.
But I don't know. It's just interesting when you see shows like that. I mean, and I think I don't know if it's more common now than it used to. I don't know if there's so many like shock value shows earlier than what something you see now. Because I think it's like a trend. You see something like Ray Zero, which is another isekai too, which I also feel is a bit, you know, refreshing. But it's also like really dark in what it does. I remember when I first started, I was just like, because the beginning you're like, oh, this is like one of these shows, and then I'm like, oh, okay.
When it came out, it was a 2-episode.
It was an hour
premiere.
opening. Yeah,
It was great.
Yeah, and then at the beginning of that episode, you're like, okay, I get what this is, and at the end, you're like, oh.
That's why they do 2 episodes in someone, like in certain shows. I wonder if they're like, we should put these 2 episodes together because they'll be really good together. Or if you only did the first episode, it probably wouldn't grab as many people.
Probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, probably wouldn't. But it's weird when you do find a show that has like an hour first episode.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen very often.
It's good most of the time. Sometimes it's just like that's the best part of the show, and then it's just garbage the rest.
Or it's the worst part of the show because it's like an hour of just information jump, and you're like, oh.
It's like the first episode of Fate Zero.
That's the one I was thinking. It's just like an hour of just people talking. You're like, okay, just get where we're supposed to go.
For some reason, I was very entertained.
So was I. I mean, yeah, but
Yeah, just people talking.
it's fun.
A lot of reading.
It's okay. My favorite series is 90% reading. So
your favorite series is 90% speed reading.
Reading simulator.
It's fast reading simulator.
That's why we watch it in dubbed.
That one doesn't have one, so
I'd never watch it though.
they'll have to hire rappers to say all the lines. To it.
Can I get Eminem to voice?
Ooh-wee. But yeah, it's a fun theme. Ooh, good lordy.
What shows do you watch? Like, not anime wise. Like, do you just watch normal? I guess normal shows. I don't know how to ask that.
I watch cop dramas. So I watch NCIS and the Chicago series, and I watched Bones when it was on Fox.
Okay.
I remember watching Bones.
There's an anime
Things like
version
that.
of Bones.
I love Criminal Minds. I tend to watch. They're kind of a almost horror genre because they try to shock you with how awful they can be.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
Supernatural was
kinda-
a big
okay.
one.
yeah. I feel like I've kind of gotten into like the criminal stuff, but it's more the documentary side where they just try to shock you that way. It's basically the
Right.
same thing, but it's real. You're like, damn, people are crazy.
People are crazy.
Seriously. My husband got me into sci-fi, and fantasy and stuff. My first
I heard
real
Sky
sci-fi.
High.
I watched Star Wars and things like that as a kid. But my first introduction to Doctor Who was the Weeping Angels episode.
Yes.
That's what my friend showed me first too.
That is the best.
That's what
episode.
we showed you.
The
Yeah.
only
That's
thing.
me and Eric showed you. Don't Blink is such a good episode.
'Cause I
It's
feel
an
like
excellent episode, unless you have to walk home in the dark by yourself afterwards.
I can never look at statues ever the same.
just don't blink what you stare at.
The building that I live next to has a weeping angel and two cherubs.
Oh no! You just close your blinds all the time.
Oh,
Awful.
good.
Terrifying.
If I
All
wore
the Stargates.
sunglasses.
Even the new Star Trek. I enjoyed the new Star Trek, even though that's apparently blasphemous.
The movies
I
or
like
like the Discovery?
So I like Picard.
Okay.
I have not seen Discovery. I have been told by people that I trust who have similar interests to me that Discovery's not for me, but I'll
Okay.
probably watch it at some point. I mean, I watched the original series,
Yeah.
and that was, I mean, it was amazing for its time period.
Well,
What
yeah.
they got away with, I mean, was amazing, but
At that time, yes, it was. So, oh
there's
man,
nothing but political commentary left, right, and center. It was great. I have to say that Voyager was my favorite Star Trek because growing up, that's what I watched on TV, and
Makes sense.
that's, according to my husband, is completely blasphemous. It's Picard all the way or nothing else. Trying to think, what else? Sliders was a really good one. It's older.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like
They
a lot of shows I
Not-
went through.
time travel. What is it? It's they jump to different dimensions, and their mechanical device for doing that gets broken, so they're stuck in these different dimensions for an unknown period of time.
Okay.
And some of them are absolutely terrible. And then there's one where like a green light means stop and a red light means go.
Why does that
it's
sound
really-
It
familiar?
does sound familiar, but I can't pick it up either. There's so much sci-fi out there nowadays. Because I remember when they put the Sci-Fi Channel on TV and it was like, oh, there's now 10 shows I can watch.
And there's like new stuff too. Like I've been meaning to watch The Expanse because I've heard it's really good.
yeah.
But it's also looking the time to watch like stuff like that as well. I've been meaning to watch Altered Carbon and stuff like that too on Netflix, but I haven't really been able to get around to that. But I don't know. It's interesting. Oh, now sci-fi wise, they announced Foundation as a series, which
Yeah.
yeah.
Dune just came out. I want to see the Dune remake.
Same.
I hope it's good.
I hope it's good enough for them to finish.
We've learned something on this podcast. If Eddie likes something that's going to come out, it's garbage. So don't jinx it.
What was the last movie he jinxed?
Care-
There's one. I think it's on Amazon Prime. Lost in Space. It's got 2 seasons. They're doing a 3rd season. It's supposed to come out next year. It's really good.
I heard that show was good. I never got time to sit through it though.
It was amazing. I think if Expanse is the one I'm thinking of, there were two that came out at the same time. Expanse was one of them.
Yeah.
If it's the one that got continued, then it's friggin' amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Like, it was supposed to be canceled, and then like through fan kind of like help and stuff, they got renewed again to keep going. And I've heard it's
what I'm thinking of, and it is fan friggin' fantastic.
I've heard it's so good. I just been meaning to to go through it, but
it is a rabbit hole for sure. You gotta go down that.
I've been meaning to. That goes on my list. Make sure I watch it. So make sure I go through. It's just one of those things. I know. I mean, fantasy wise, they just announced Wheel of Time, which also makes me very happy.
On Amazon Prime.
Yeah, probably.
I think I saw the commercial for it.
As long as I don't have to read the books, I think that'll be fine.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot.
I wonder how many
I don't mind
episodes.
the length. It's that after a little while, like you spend a whole book on 3 days.
Yeah, they're notoriously.
Man, I wish I could read that fast.
Like
I love
life.
long series. I love long books. I'm currently reading Game of Thrones. I love that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But it's actually got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll never get finished.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's one of the books that I've read. I haven't seen the show for, just because I'm like, I want the book to finish because it's good, and I heard the show isn't good.
Oh, blessed.
I mean, it's okay. We'll get Winds of Winter when No Game No Life gets a season 2.
When we're
When
Half-Life
Hashtag
3.
Ages.
Yep.
The world will be on fire. I can't wait.
I mean,
Again?
because for some reason George R. R. Martin believes he's gonna write everything else before he ever finishes that book. So
I just don't think he wants to finish it anymore.
probably not.
I don't think he can. There's too much expectation. And he's just like, I can't.
Maybe he's waiting. Maybe he has the manuscript there, and he's just like, once people forget.
We'll never forget.
The ending of the show, which I haven't seen the show because I wanted to read the books, but once people forget the ending of the show, which was apparently awful, then he'll write the ending of the book.
Yes, it was. I was a sad person.
I don't think that'll ever get
I was such a sad individual.
blanked out in people's minds.
Same. Oh, God. Because I
Is it
binge
as
watched
bad as
it all.
Babylon 5, though? Because the end of Babylon 5 just still pisses me.
Worse.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, no.
Yeah, it's very. I don't know how to describe like
Underwhelming.
well, it's almost worse than underwhelming. It's because it's the problem when there's no foundation anymore. Because the first 5 seasons are obviously the books, right? And it's really good. And even the 6th season's not too bad because it doesn't deviate too far. But once you hit 7 and 8, and characters don't make sense anymore for that character. They break their own rules, and to a certain point, you feel like it's rushed. Which I mean, to a certain degree, it kind of was, because the writers wanted to go do Star Wars, and they didn't end up doing that anyway. So it just feels like unsatisfactory. It just leaves you empty because you're like, this was rushed. This doesn't make any sense. You went through probably who knows how much content in 8 episodes. Not even, it was 8 episodes, 8 or 6 episodes. I can't remember what season 8 was.
It was 8 episodes.
And none of it makes sense. Even I don't know. It was very frustrating. It was a frustrating
My
season.
favorite is when they hyped up this battle to be Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings, and then you watch it and you can't even see anything.
I mean, Helm's Deep was dark, but at least you can kind of tell what was going on, you know?
And here he's just I see a lantern, I think. The
I hear
outline of
swords clashing.
That's how you hide the CG.
It's not wrong.
But it was
a Lost then, because I did see the ending of Lost, and I know that was, yeah.
Oh boy.
So
Yeah, I would say it's comparable to the ending of Lost.
Oof.
Did you go through all of Lost, or were you like most people that watched 4 seasons, and they're like,
And then you jump at
last
the end."
episode, finally.
Pretty much, yeah. I skipped around a lot. Yeah.
I remember that's what I did. It was like 4 or 5 seasons. I'm like, I can't anymore. I'm just
At one
tired.
point, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know what's going on or who these people are.
That's why I was like, I'm just tired. And they're like, last episode. I'm like, I'll watch it. Guess
Right.
what? It didn't make sense.
I also
in my
feel
mind.
like that's just something that happens when a show goes for so long.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was 10 seasons before it ended, right? Like
Something
when you
like that.
when you have a drama show like that isn't episodic, because that's the thing when you watch like the criminal dramas and stuff, right? They're episodic. It doesn't matter. It can keep going on forever because I mean, there's no shortage of whatever serial killers or whatever's in the world, so it can go on forever and it's an episodic nature. But when you have like a drama or anything in that category where the story should have a beginning, middle, and end, but it goes for so long. I mean, it's like when you get old shonens, right, with all the filler in it. The same thing happens, and it starts to like convolute itself, and it starts to like do weird things. And I feel like that's just what Lost was. And then Lost just became so big too, it just collapsed under its own weight.
Pretty much. Well, I just kept asking questions and not giving you answers.
Yeah.
You're like, I have more questions than answers by the end of this. That's not a good.
Yeah.
And that doesn't equal.
Because for me, perfection in like TV pacing is like Breaking Bad, where it went for its like 6 seasons, not even some of them full seasons either, but story, you could tell it had its complete arc. It ended at its high point, and that was it. Boom. Yeah. Perfectly concise. And because the it is what it is, it becomes so memorable, almost as the template for modern TV. But
I agree. I would have to agree with that. Breaking Bad wasn't a favorite show of mine, but I thought it was television genius.
Agreed.
And I mean, and it's funny because Game of Thrones started in that vein, and you're like, oh, this is we could see where this is going, and then obviously it also collapsed under its own weight. Sadly, yeah, it became too big for its own good.
Like Half-Life, when it'll ever come out.
Half-Life's never coming out. Even the guy who wrote the script for the
Agent.
Yep. I mean, I think even like the guy who wrote the script for the third one just like released it. And he was like, this is never going to happen anyway. And there's no way what this would ever have lived up to any hype the series would have had. So, I mean, I don't know.
Detective Conan ends. That's when we'll get these mythic second seasons.
She's not wrong.
Never ending.
Nope.
There's too many episodes in certain shows. Like, I heard this show is really good. Let me see.
I mean, technically, Detective Conan, I think, has more episodes than One Piece.
What?
It does.
Yep.
Jesus.
I think there's only one other show that beats it, and I can't remember the name of it. It's like a kid's cartoon now.
Yeah.
Yokai.
No, that's new.
Pokemon has more than that.
Conan has more episodes than 2 of the longest running daytime dramas. What are they called?
Soap operas?
Yes, thank you. Like, one of them is Days of Our Lives. I know that one. My friend watches that one.
That's still going on?
But it has more episodes than soap operas. So take that.
It's been going for a long time.
Jesus.
Ooh-wee. Oh, it's super crazy. I don't know. It's like some of those long series, I'm just like, oh, it's too much. Just can't do it. I appreciate that it's been doing what it's been doing, but just can't. Nope.
And it's so good, but I just can't handle this.
Yep.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Someone obviously.
Detective Conan's 15th of all time with 1,018.
What's number 1?
Sazai Sound?
Oh, weird.
It has 7,000 episodes.
7,000 episodes?
7,000 episodes.
Dude, how do I convert that into years?
7,000 episodes.
Good cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Still, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, the one underneath it has 2,245.
What's that one?
Nintama Rantaro,
Oh, okay.
whatever that is.
Another thing that started in 93.
Okay, sweet. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's gone on for. It's just the thing. Detective Conan has that many episodes and it's 15th.
Yeah, exactly. It's 7,000. My God, what?
It's okay, I'm going to start it today. I'll see you guys next millennia.
I'll do the math real quick if you want to. So I know you have to leave soon, right, Ashley?
Yeah, I'll have to go soon. Yeah.
It's okay, we can just end it here.
Yeah, we're good.
Is there anything you want to like announce or promote? There's the word I'm looking for.
Bonsai is awesome, and everybody should attend. That's what should be promoted.
So buy your tickets. Is there like a website for it?
Yeah, if you just go to animebanzai.org, and it's BANZAI, but it's not like a bonsai tree. It's like the stout bonsai.
We can link it in the description, right?
Yep.
I know that one of our voice actor for this year is Bonnie Gordon.
Okay.
So she's been in a bunch of different things. She's in anime and video games and everything. So
I forgot that's one thing
Bonnie.
I do really like because I've been like a collector for a while. It is cool to see what's it called, like celebrities, I guess if you want to put that they get every year. They have like a little artist or signing thing.
Oh.
Trying to use the right term.
All of our autographs are free. That's one of our big draws is you can meet the celebrities, the voice actors. Our local celebrity is Worky. We love Worky.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, buy your tickets.
Come to Bonsai.
Buy your tickets, attend, cosplay, don't cosplay. There's a bunch of activities too. Like, I know they have an art show there, right? All the panels and stuff.
Yep, we do a bunch of charity things for different charities. The art show is with Best Friends Animal Society.
Okay.
They have different in the art show. They have like two different things where they have art that's for sale, and then art that's for sale, but the proceeds go to charity.
Okay. Nice.
We have the artist alley and the vendors hall. We have a viewing room. We have the video game room and the tabletop gaming room. Panels, main events. Usually we have dances, but for COVID this year, we're doing different big activities. So that'll be fun and exciting for this year.
Nice.
We have Taisho. Is it Taisho drummers?
Oh, nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, we've got some cool stuff going on.
So yeah, go check it out. Go support, local artists, your local anime convention. You just have fun.
Very nice. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, we'd love to have you and your husband another time. That'd be fun.
We always like
Absolutely.
having guests.
And thank you, everybody, for watching us. Of course, as always, there's the obvious like, comment, subscribe, support these guys' stickers. They're dope.
Our Etsy page.
Helps out our podcast.
It's all there. And thank you, everybody, so much for watching us. And that is it for today.
See ya.
Bye. Hit that button.